they videoed the school board meeting. And he said, and they televised it. And he said, I saw myself on TV. I saw the way my face was. I saw the way my legs moved. I saw the effect I made. She said, and I was sending a message to everybody that I wasn't on board with anything that was being said. So people in that environment need to be thinking about this. Now, they either need to be thinking about it or they don't. Because one of the things that people have said to me is, what do I do? And I know I have 6 seconds to tell you, so what I tell people is I sell mistakes. Anybody here sell mistakes? Will anybody here agree to the fact that they sell mistakes? You got to do better than a head shake. Come on. Let's come down back to your 30-second elevator pitch. Somebody meets you somewhere and they say, what do you do? What do you say? What do you say?
I'm a marketer.
Okay. Any other marketers here? All hands? You're all marketers. Well, here is the issue, is that today what your competition is attempting to do and doing successfully frequently is moving themselves from the crowd to be over there. So what they really want to have happen in every presentation they give, they want all the marketers to be here, but they want to be standing out in the hallway talking to people as they come in. So how quickly can you separate somebody from somebody else? And I use an elevator pitch strategy that I've used for years. I'll get in an elevator with somebody and I play with this. I'll say to them, how you doing today? If you say, how you doing, you'll go, But if you say, how you doing today, you will be astounded at how much people will tell you about what they do, what their life is about. How you doing today? Add today to the end of that. I'll go down, I'll listen to what they're saying, and as they get down, I'll find out, I'll say, is what this person does have any application to what I do? Most times when a guy stops, he'll say to me, what do you do? And I laugh. It's funny, I sell mistakes. Nobody walks away. Everybody, what are you talking about? Now, when you do that, you need to have some significant mistakes that your clients have made before they became your client. And I will encourage you, if you like, the next book I'm putting together is a book on money and mistakes. We're going to be talking about that a little bit more today. But the point is that send me a list of all of the top 10 mistakes your clients made before they became your client. And if you want to market something that's intriguing, market the mistakes. And if you put a dollar value next to it. So I'll give you an example. I consulted with a law firm in the city. They were litigators, and I helped with them with jury presentation and jury selection and some management within the office. But I said to the guy, I said, you know, you really need to change the culture of this law firm from a management culture to a coaching culture. Anybody familiar, have heard that before? From management culture to a coaching culture? What a management culture is you come to me, I come to work for you, you tell me exactly what you want me to do, I do it, and then you evaluate me. 3 months, 6 months, some maybe even instantly. But all that time, if you're managing 10, 15 people, you have no idea what anybody's doing. You're dealing with some anxiety. Coaching culture, you come to me and say, Dan, I have a project. We have to have it done by, June 15th. Go back, take a look at this, and tell me how you're going to handle this. And it's my responsibility to come back and to talk about how I'm going to handle it. The second question that you ask me is there anything that you could imagine between now and the time in June 15th that could disrupt you from getting this project done? You'll say yes or no. What's happened? I've committed to the process that you agree with. I've committed to the time frame that you agree with. And then your statement to me is, okay, what do you need from me? Do you need anything from me? Money, resources, people, help in that? Well, I said this to this law firm, and anybody who's ever dealt with lawyers, are there any lawyers in the house? Okay. Well, when I start to talk to lawyers, the first thing they'll say to me is, Dan, okay, but you're not a lawyer. So we get through this whole process, and about 2 years later, my client calls me up and he said to me, I have good news and bad news for you. I said, what's the bad news? He said, the bad news is you're not going to get a percentage of what just happened. Thank you. So he said, of course, you want to retain it with us. I said, what happened? He said, I just saved $20 million in 20 minutes. I said, how were you able to do that? He said, well, being unlike myself, I sat down with this litigator who was going to try this case, $750,000 judgment, and for a huge client of ours. And as she started to describe to me how she was going to handle this case, I knew very quickly we were going to lose. She wasn't prepared. She was taking the wrong direction. But I knew it before it happened. I didn't have to wait till after it happened. If we had lost that judgment, we would have lost a $20 million client. So the fact is that a lot of what I try to do is get people out into 2019, for example, and I'll say, okay, tell me everything that you can possibly do to totally foul up your company, totally foul up your presentation. Because you want to know before somebody goes into a room, are they going to be able to handle it or not? A lot of people that I deal with, in a variety of scenarios, have one chance to do it right. They don't get, there's no instant replays. People who need to testify in court, I was called by a CPA about 3-4 months ago, and he said to me, look, he said, I have a client who desperately needs to win. He said, I know you only work with people who want to win. And I said, yes. So he said, here's what we're going to do. He said, this guy is a great surgeon. He's testifying in court in a really significant case that's got to have a big impact on his life. He's great in the operating room. He is terrible in court. So he said, can you help him? Because one of the things that I do with my athletes and a lot of people is I use hypnosis to help people make change very, very, very quickly when they want to. So he called me up, he told me the whole scenario, and I said, when are you going to be testifying again? He said, tomorrow morning. He gave me a lot of time. How many people call you when they don't get a lot of time? Everybody. Well, so the point was that, so I said, what if I hypnotize you over the phone so that the closer and closer and closer you get to court, the more and more relaxed, calm, and comfortable you become? He said, that'd be great. So I said, do you believe this? He said, I want it to happen. That's the big factor. Do you want it to happen? So he went along with that. He called me back that afternoon. He said, my lawyer said to me, where have you been? I've been waiting for you to show up. But there are so many situations where people have one shot, they're not getting another chance, whether it's a business presentation, a marketing presentation, a presentation to the board, a presentation to the president of a company. Somewhere, the guy wants to get a competitive edge. And what are they doing? And I will tell you the other interesting thing, and I know Jerry and some of the people here who know me know this. I have a group of clients who will never, ever refer me to anybody. I am so far under the radar that they just don't talk about it. Now, this is real serious stuff. I had a guy call me up, he said to me, I'm a 3-handicap golfer. That's a good golfer. He said, somebody told me you'd be able to help me improve my game. Can you do that? I said, yes. He said, would you meet me at my office in the city? And I said, absolutely. So he went into this, I met him in the city, and when I didn't know who he was before I got there, but when I got there, I knew exactly who the guy was. And when we walked through his office, it was about 5 times as big as he's going, oh, my golf swing, my golf swing. When we get into his office, he pushes all the golf stuff off the desk. He said, this is not about golf. He said, I'm in the middle of one of the biggest mergers and acquisitions going on in the country today. I've got 5 months to persuade 4 people that I'm the guy to run this company. So we spent 5 months on psychologically designed conversations that he would have with these people. He had the conversation, he got the job, and then we went out to dinner. And I said, boy, here's a great opportunity for referrals. I mean, you figure really, referrals. So he said to me, I said, do you know anybody else in the same situation you're in? He said, absolutely. I said, would you refer me? He says, no. He says, I can't tell anybody about it. So there are people around who, no matter how good you do what you do, are going to keep secrets from you. Chad Pennington was quarterback for the Jets and the Miami Dolphins. He's my client since 2005. He didn't talk about me at all until 2011. The only person that knew we worked together was me and his wife. So it's how many people are keeping secrets that you could all use for your clients, for your company, for marketing underneath the radar, a lot of them. People say, you know, if you want to make absolutely certain you're going in the wrong direction, follow the crowd. How many people are following the crowd? How many of your clients, the people you're working with, follow the crowd? So it becomes a problem. But I want to come back to some of the things that we talked about that get in the way. So All of this performance consulting, performance enhancement, what can you do to really improve that? First of all, is anybody here stressed? What if I showed you a way right now that you could knock your stress down by blinking your eyes? Anybody be interested? Yes. Okay. Sit up straight in your chairs. Put your feet flat on the floor. You're not going to have to move your foot around. Put your hands flat on your thighs. And here's what's going to happen. I'm going to ask you in a minute to take a deep breath, let it out, and close your eyes. I'm going to count to 3. When I reach 3, you're going to open your eyes again. Look at some spot on the table in front of you. We'll do it 1 or 2 times, and then I'll show you how to do this. And this will last you for the rest of your life and any time you get into a situation where you need to relax. So just take a deep breath, let it out, close your eyes. 1, 2, now just keep your eyes closed. And imagine that your eyes are closed so tightly that they won't open. You can even test them to make sure they won't open. Now, in any way that you want, or whatever way you're comfortable with, picture, see, or imagine a number 5. And as that 5 changes into a 4, you have the choice of double or triple your relaxation, completely up to you. Let the 4 go into a 3, double or triple your relaxation again. Walk up to the number, think about number 2, watch the 2 disappear. And now just think about a number 1. Take any stress or tension you have in your body, attach it to that number 1, and as that number 1 floats away off into the distance, let it take any stress or tension that you have out with you. Now use your imagination. Just imagine you're standing on a path toward a beach, either a beach you're familiar with, or one you've never been to, one you'd like to go to. And as you look down to the end of this path, you can see the ocean coming up on the sand. And you can walk down that path toward the beach. You may be even saying to yourself, you know, this path could be as long as I want it to be. It could be a mile. But today it's going to be a short path. You get down to the end of the path, you step down into the sand, you start to walk across the sand toward the water. And when you get down to where the water is meeting the sand, you look down in the sand and you see a number 5 scratched in the sand. And as you look up the beach, you see a 4, a 3, a 2, and a 1. And you know what's happened is these numbers have disappeared before. So let's see how much you want to control your mind's ability to relax your body. Because you may even be saying right now, I never believed that I could create this type of level of relaxation by myself. So you scratch the number 5 out and your relaxation drops again, doubles or triples. You walk up to the number 4, little wave comes up and takes the 4 away. Wave comes up and takes the 3 away, and as that water runs back out into the ocean, you see it taking stress and tension with it. Walk up to the number 2, the same thing happens. Walk up to the number 1, and the water takes the number 1 out and more stress and tension away from you. What I'd like you to do now is just call attention to your hands. Some people report when they do this, their hands become very, very heavy. Just test to see how heavy your hands are. Okay, you don't have to test anymore. So the way to come back from this place is very simple. You just imagine you're standing in front of a flight of 3 steps. Imagine putting your foot up on the first step. You start to feel energy coming back into your body. Put your foot up on the second step. Become more aware of the sound of my voice and the sound of the air conditioning in the room and the chair you're sitting on. And finally, put your foot up on the top step and come back feeling good, wonderful, refreshed, wide awake in every way. Does everybody come back with me now? Is everybody back? You got everybody back with us? Anybody want to tell me what beach you went to?
Aruba.
Aruba. Anybody else?
Beach where I live.
Okay. Anybody else want to volunteer beach? Jones Beach? Jones?
Beach behind my house.
Okay. Anybody else? Costa del Sol? You know, I charge by how far they travel to the beach. But again, when do you want to use this? Now try something else. Just put your thumb and your index finger together. Imagine it like you're using a dimmer switch, and you press your thumb and your index finger together, and the more you press your thumb and index finger together, you might discover that the muscles in the back of your neck and your shoulders start to relax a bit. Where do you need to, you can stop that. Where do you need to use that? I've had people come in and say to me, I've been in a 3-blink meeting. You know, they go into, but somebody who has to go into a contentious situation can control their stress and manage it with a surprising fashion. So it's those kind of things that people use on a regular basis that they're not telling you about. Somebody's controlling a meeting and they're just not telling you. So that's where the competitive edge lies, in doing some things that other people do that they're not going to talk about. I want to talk about glaze over. Everybody familiar with glaze over is? When you say to somebody, I'm a CPA or I'm a lawyer, or they glaze over. I don't know how much glaze over is costing you. I don't know how much glaze over costs your company. I think it's got to be a tremendous amount of money. And so how do you stop glaze over? You stop glaze over with the, you know, I sell mistakes concept. But it happens immediately, where you can stop somebody and get their attention. So the concept is this. You want to get somebody from, I sell mistakes. What do you do? And you say, well, it's very interesting. All my clients are in 2019 working backwards. That also confuses them. So I've broken up the whole pattern of they think they know what I do. I'm not like anybody else. And you want to separate yourself from, you know, you want to take the CPA and he wants to get over here. Somebody says, well, I know a lot of CPAs, they don't tell me this stuff. So this, once again, is how do you put this together? Where does your communication strategy come in? It starts with my clients with profiling. See, because nobody that I work with speaks to anybody for a business presentation or a proposal that they don't profile ahead of time. Single, married, divorced, separated, kids, gay, street, who are they? What do they want to have happen? The guy with a business acquisition and a merger and acquisition, we profile 4 people. We went on the internet, we found out what associations they were connected to, what they like to have happen. What does this guy really, really, really want to have happen? Because I learned a long time ago, nobody cares what I want, they care what they want. And that's what's happening with people you're dealing with. So can you really tie in what they want with understanding you're breaking the pattern, the glaze over pattern? It's really distracting people from hearing what you want to say and getting them to think about something else. So the mistakes piece it becomes very interesting. But I had a CPA client who was in One Penn Plaza. He said to me as I was talking about this, he said, let me tell you what happened. He said, I walked across from my office to the garden to pick my car up. My wife was with me. I walked in and there was a hockey player there that I knew. The guy's name escapes me. He said, but I was so thrilled to see him. And I said to him, how much pleasure I got out of watching you play hockey. He said, I love watching you play. And the guy said to me, what do you do? He said, I'm a CPA. The guy did this to my wife. What do you do? She says, I train dogs. Let me talk to you about my dog training. He said, any opportunity I had to even engage him in a discussion about his business was shot. Now, as I'm talking about this, people's names may come to mind, people that you know you want to deal with, who you think this applies to. Jot the name down, because that's what happens with your subconscious mind. Your subconscious mind starts spitting out ideas that become important to you. And normally, we've all been brought up, at least I was, to think, don't be distracted. Don't just focus and concentrate on what's in front of you. You have to look at the kind of things that your subconscious mind puts up to you when you're playing with this stuff, because it's important. Positive and confident communicators are made, they're not born. People need to prepare, they need to prepare to compete, they need help sometimes to go in and present well, depending on who they're talking to. But it's important to keep in mind that somebody who thinks that this stuff comes naturally, I know it doesn't. It doesn't for me, and it doesn't for a lot of people. But people find as they move up within a company, their responsibilities change. And it becomes more important to be thinking about that stuff. How do people prepare to compete? I work a lot with people who are winning today. They only want to win. And so how does that work out? How does that play out? First of all, we're dealing with a culture now where kids look at winning as negative. It's not positive to win. Kids get trophies for showing up. Hire a guy who comes in and says, I'm here. I've arrived. Give me my trophy. Bill Gates came back and said that's one of the cruelest hoaxes that have been played on kids when they get into the workplace, that they just for showing up. But where does the preparation for competition come in? And how do I look at it? Anybody here football fans? Watch football? I'll give you an example. I'm sorry to the ones who aren't. But Super Bowl III, Dave Herman protected Joe Namath from Bubba Smith. Dave Herman was 6'2", 250. Bubba Smith was 6'7", 365. And I said to Dave, how were you able to protect Namath from this guy? He said, I watched game films. I said, well, I've had football players watching game films in my office. What did you watch for? I thought they were watching for formations. He said to me, no. He said, I realized when a guy that big has got to be moving forward, he's got to be standing on one foot just a little bit longer than everybody else. So I never waited till the ball was snapped. I just waited till I saw the foot come up. And then I hit him when he was standing on one foot. Here's a guy who's got 4 quarters and numerous downs to win a game. And he prepares to that degree. How do people go out and wing it? How do people wing presentations? You all know people that do it. And what does it cost them to wing a presentation? Winging a presentation relies on something I'm sure you're all familiar with, is unconscious competence. People who do stuff really very well over and over again, and they do it without even thinking about it. That unconscious competence is a problem, because if I come to work for you and you do things unconsciously you don't even know that you do, how do you teach me what you need to teach me? But the unconscious competence piece is that they just don't, they lose their focus. So we talked about winging it. So the question is, what's not happening right now in your business that needs to happen? And you know, I talked to Jerry about my book. We're going to talk about it a little later. But I tell people, don't read this book. You don't have time to read my book. Stuff is happening way too fast today in business for you to get the 222 in the page if that's what you need for tomorrow. So I suggest that anybody who has it to go down a table of contents. Are you leaving, Jerry?
5 minutes.
5 minutes? Okay.